Hey, what's going on? Thanks for stopping by to watch me do the dishes over the next few minutes while I share my raw, uncensored thoughts with you. Smash that like button as hard as you can on your way in. Smash that subscribe button if this is your first time, and make sure to stay until the end for the post-wash celebration. It's gonna be epic, okay? But yeah, look at this, man. Look at this shit. Fuck my life. I'm not looking forward to doing them dishes. Not only do I have to cook and stand in the kitchen for hours, I also have to clean up. Why? Why? This is what goes through my mind every time I look at the pile of dishes. But these thoughts, they only stay for about 5-10 seconds and I feel fine afterwards. I hear you saying right now, why don't you just put them in the fucking dishwasher and then you're done? Well, genius, not all dishes can be washed in the dishwasher. And second of all, I'm the kitchen guy in the family. I do the cooking, I love cooking, and I like to take care of my kitchen afterwards. So I know where everything is and I make sure that everything goes into place. I do get lots of help, but I like to do it. But the funny thing about dishes is if you make it a habit to do them every day and you see it as a positive thing to do, then you start loving it. I know it sounds weird, but let me explain. Like the closest analogy I can come up with is the bubble wrap paper analogy. It's like, it gives me that sense of satisfaction. The other reason that I actually like it is because I don't know if you do any sports. I personally play soccer. Doing dishes is like the polar opposite of doing sports. Let me explain why. When you play sports, let's take the example of basketball or soccer or whatever you like. Once you start playing the game, as you focus on the game, your thoughts go away and that's the only thing you're doing is you're kicking that ball, getting that ball through the hoop or passing that ball to your teammates. That's, all you're focused on is the present moment, the actual game you're playing. I think the correct term for it is active meditation, where, passive meditation is where you just sit, close your eyes, and, you have something playing in the background, some music or something, guided meditation, whatever you like to do. And you try to make your thoughts go away or just sit still and not do anything. Active meditation is where you're doing something with your body. Instead of focusing on your breath, you focus on the activity that you're doing. It's pretty much the same concept, right? But with dishes, it's the opposite. Earlier in life, I came to the realization that I'm a thinker. My brain likes to think. My brain likes to be used every day. Whenever my brain feels underutilized over a long period of time, feel not quite right. I start to feel depressed and so forth. I need to make my brain tired somehow. Just like I exercise my body, I gotta exercise my brain. I'm not sure if you can relate. I had conversation with friends and people I know, and it's kind of similar. You need that brain candy. And for me, the brain candy is listening to audiobooks, watching interesting things that get you to think. But I complement that with what I call walking my brain. Basically, it's like if you have a dog, you have to take them for a walk multiple times a day. I have to take my brain for a walk at least once a day. And the way I do that is through something like dishwashing. I do something that I don't have to think about, but I let my brain run in the background. 200 miles an hour it can go. Thoughts go in all directions. And that's how I get inspiration. That's how I get creative. Some people experience that in the shower, where they say the best ideas come to you in the shower. I get that feeling from dishwashing sometimes, Not every day. But if I'm in a good mood and I'm just doing it because I am liking to do it at the time, I can get my brain walk of the day done. Yeah. Anyway, how was your day? Tell me about your day. My day was pretty good. If you don't know, I work as a software consultant in my day job. If you have no exposure to technology or software or whatever. Basically, what we do is we build websites and apps, mobile apps, desktop software. And so we build it and we make sure that it continues to run correctly. And the consultant part is I work with different businesses, sharing my expertise, not only technically, but also in terms of like business, giving the business perspective on things. And yeah, today was nice, man. Today was pretty good. I work mostly with an enterprise client right now, a large enterprise client. The day went pretty well. There was no incidents with the software platform they have. Pretty chill. Was not very eventful. Because sometimes when shit hits the fan, I wouldn't have this calm voice that you guys can hear right now. Speaking of which, these thoughts that I'm sharing with you right now are not what I sound like when I'm doing my dishes. This recording has been done after the dishwashing because dishwashing as an activity, like there's a lot of noise involved and I don't want to expose you guys to that. So basically what I do is as I'm doing the dishes, like I record some vocal notes on my iPhone. Afterwards, I like write them down and I record them for you guys so you can have the best quality while watching my videos. Yeah, that's what it is. That's why I sound so smooth. I don't sound like this when doing dishes. Just a little disclaimer for you. Today I was listening to this interesting podcast episode. It's a Dutch podcast, so it's all in Dutch. And they had this woman on as a guest. And she was describing how she survived a crash in 1992. 30 years ago. Man, 30 years ago. 1992 was 30 years ago. Shit. Man. Yeah. Wow, she didn't look that old on the podcast. Anyway, yeah, basically she went on she was on a flight on a small plane somewhere in Asia. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Vietnam or so, or the Philippines. Always confused the two. I'm not sure why. But anyway, their plane crashes and it was terrible, obviously. It's a plane crash. She's the only survivor. She watched her husband, her fiancé, die in front of her. And it was absolutely terrible, as you would imagine. She had to survive for about 8 days on her own, you know? I think there was people who survived the crash but died in front of her eyes later on, which is absolutely terrible. I can't imagine how that would feel. But anyway, she was explaining how she survived only on water. It's great that she had access to water. By day 3 or day 4, she started to feel a little bit high. It's like she was on drugs. You know, as time went on, she started to see hallucinations and see some weird things and so on and so forth. And she also had this feeling of blissfulness and euphoria, you know, as if she was on drugs. And she describes that she started accepting her reality and being one with nature and things like that. So the next day, she comes back to the same cliff. She's hanging out, you know, and all of a sudden she sees the same person, like the same guy dressed in orange. But for some reason this time, it's like part of her snapped back into reality out of that euphoria. And she looked at him more closely. And this guy looked like he was like a local man from the region or something like that, like a Vietnamese looking person. She started screaming with the top of her voice, you know, all languages she could, you know, think of to get his attention. But the guy just stood there looking at her. And, you know, after a few seconds or whatever, she gave up. As she describes, he just walks away. And she thought again, oh, I must have lost it. Like, I'm seeing ghosts now. Having these visions. Later that day, she starts seeing people come in with medical bags and, you know, backpacks and stuff like that. Then she realized that it's a rescue party coming to rescue her. This is the story of her being rescued. And then, I don't know, days, weeks, months later, she was able to speak with that guy, with the orange man, they call him, in the story. I mean, this lady, she wrote a book about her story. She called him in the story the Orange Man. And apparently the Orange Man, this man, when he saw her, he thought she was a ghost, just like she did, And that's why he came back the next day to make sure that she was not a ghost. Again, part of him thought that she was not real. And the other part of him thought that she might have something human in her because, wait for it, because she was wearing a rain jacket. And I don't know, maybe in his mind, ghosts don't typically wear rain jackets, but I guess that's what, triggered him to think that she was human, and that's how he called for help. Anyway, lesson of the story, or morale of the story, we have more commonalities than we think. We are more like each other than we think. We think we're these little snowflakes. We think that nobody else feels what we feel in specific situations, especially when it's negative. We're more similar to each other than we think. Now it's time for the post-wash celebration. Done here with my dishwashing. Man, it's so satisfying